The human psyche holds no fewer secrets than the depths of the ocean. Scientists are constantly studying the brain and discovering new patterns of behavior, and the number of surprises is always growing. Learn something interesting about yourself as a person is always exciting. From this video you will learn 25 facts about human psychology. You will know yourself a little better and easily cope with the difficulties of life. Brain activity continues even when we rest. At this time is filtering what need to put in memory and what to remove from the mind. Waking up in the morning, you will never forget what is important to you, but you will not remember what you stopped paying attention to yesterday. Man feels more successful and happy only when his brain is occupied with something. Moreover, the gray matter is not interested in monotonous work, is just a constant fuss. Concentration and switching from one job to another. Only in such moments man feels happy. Also, when man becomes happier than usual, his need for sleep is reduced. Studies show that the sleep of a happy person is shorter by about 10%. You can't ignore food, sex, and danger. Have you ever noticed that people always stop to look at accident scenes? We can't ignore situations of danger. Everyone has a special part of the brain that is responsible for survival and reproduction. Researchers have proven that if a person in his youth was able to refuse what he strongly wanted, life tests are given easier and with minimal losses. People can accept the most monstrous changes in their lives calmly, as long as these changes are gradual. Why do people live in a marriage that destroys the psyche? The answer is simple: they got used to and accepted it because the change did not happen overnight, and people have time to get used to the bad. Their reality changed but slowly, and in the end is not normal and became normal. To get used to something it takes no more than 2 months. Or 66 days to be exact. That's how long it takes for a person to form and automate any action. For example, if you want to switch to a proper diet, you may need a little less than about 55 days, but the sport will have to get used to longer, up to 75 days. Every day the average person has 12 to 60,000 thoughts in his head. Our brain is a million times more powerful than the most powerful computer, but just look at what we spend this power. 80% of our thoughts are negative. And most of the negative thoughts are repeated day after day, so all the silly thoughts that sometimes come into your head are normal. It happens to everyone. The best remedy for anxiety and stress is reading. This activity has a faster effect on the body, surprisingly. But this way is much better than taking alcohol, much more effective than walking, tea drinking, or listening to music. There is a principle that the higher the expectations for an event, the higher the likelihood of crushing disappointment. The more you wait, the less you get. The less you wait, the more you get. If there is broken glass in a house, soon there will not be a single intact window, and then there will be looting. This is the basic idea of the theory of broken windows. In a broader sense, this theory is that people are much more willing to break rules and regulations if they see clear signs of disorder around them. This has been repeatedly experimentally proven, so a small disorder and laxity in your life can lead to global problems in the future. People are reluctant to contradict a calm and balanced person. On the contrary, when someone violently and aggressively defends his opinion, he will be resisted and will argue with him. There is no better word for a man than his name. The first thing to remember when getting acquainted is the name, not the position, not the profession. But the name is the basic rule of establishing a good relationship with psychologists. Identified that a woman has only 45 seconds to assess an unfamiliar man, of them 10 seconds she builds a general impression of the figure, seconds to assess the eyes, 7 seconds to look at the hair, 10 seconds on the lips and chin, 5 seconds on the shoulders, and the last 5 seconds to look at the ring if it is certainly there. People suffering from depression often say that they perceive the world around them in gray tones. It turned out that this is not just a psychological phenomenon. The grayness of colors in depression has a physiological basis. When depressed, the human retina becomes less sensitive to color contrast and is less able to distinguish between colors, but the opposite is also true, if you are surrounded by grayness and dull colors. The chance of getting depressed or moping increases significantly. Incompetent people often end up higher on the career ladder than their more qualified colleagues. According to the Dunning-Kruger effect, people with low qualifications tend to overestimate their capabilities and, making the wrong decision, often cannot realize their mistake. People with high qualifications look at things more soberly and, in contrast, tend to underestimate their capabilities and believe that others do not value them. These conclusions were experimentally confirmed in 1999. Women feel loved while talking face-to-face with their partner. Men, on the contrary, experience emotional intimacy in communication when they work playing or talking sitting next to their partner. The most famous example of deception through honesty is a person who voices his dishonest intentions will appear more honest in the eyes of others than a person who has no such intentions or hides them completely. You can only memorize 3 to 4 elements at a time. There is a rule of the magic number 7 plus or minus 2, according to which a person cannot store more than 5 to 707 blocks of information at a time. Most information in short-term memory is stored for 10 seconds, after which we quickly forget it only if we do not repeat it over and over again. A child begins to perceive his or her separate I only after 2 years from birth, but before that he or she feels as one with the whole world around. Just as we consider our hands and feet to be ourselves, so the child considers the whole world around him or her to be a part of himself or herself. 90% of all diseases are psychological. A person can be finally healthy only by restoring his or her equilibrium. To be fatal for a person is a kind of sensory hunger that needs to be stimulated. It is proven that a child deprived of physical contact with people for a long time degrades and may die because of this lack of physical and emotional contact. In the life of each person, the observations of psychologists show that during personal contact, interlocutors are not able to look at each other all the time, but an extra 60% of the total time. But the time of eye contact can go beyond in 2 cases in love and aggressive people, so if a stranger looks at you long and intently, most often this indicates a hidden aggression. Constriction and expansion of the pupils are not subject to the mind, so their response very clearly shows interest in your partner. Pupil dilation indicates increased interest in you and hostility will tell their narrowing. But this phenomenon should be observed in the dynamics as well as pupil size depends on lighting. In bright sunlight the human pupils are narrow, in a dark room pupils dilate. If you decide start an important business, never tell anyone about it or nothing will happen. When you announce your plans, your brain puts an imaginary check mark done, and it is very difficult to change his mind to the contrary. It may sound like his faith, but psychologists have confirmed this pattern. Serious studies and surveys to gain the trust of a man, you need to hold him in your arms for about 20 seconds only of goodwill. Of course, it's all about oxytocin is a hormone that is produced in the body when we feel safe, including close to loved ones, and it calms and relaxes. Yet another argument in favor of hugs in the long winter evenings. If you liked this video, sure write your opinion and subscribe to the channel. Friends, see you later.